Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of Stash Report for Stash Project. Today is June 7th, 2021. So we have a bunch of kit announcements from Hakusuka and Aoshima, taking care of the August Hakusuka and the September Aoshima announcements. Also an announcement here domestically. And then we have a plethora of kits, a good heavy dose of domestic releases this week. So without sort of stumbling all over my words here at the beginning, we're just going to go ahead and get into it, shall we? All right. So, the August Hakusuka releases. First up, a straight reissue of the Nissan Sunny pickup truck with the resin chin spoiler. And then a reissue of the 1/20th scale Lotus 79. We had just talked about this kit coming out not too terribly long ago. It's one of the very few 1/20th scale F1 kits that Hakusuka did. It was very, obviously another thing that Tamiya did, which, unfortunately sort of, sapped the interest, if you will, of the kit away, just from an aspect of two things of the exact same basic kit competing with each other. That's why I was very kind of leery of the whole thing that that Nunu and Hakusuka have going on, where they're making each other's kits. But this is going to be a reissue with a detail upset included. It is not a huge detail upset the way that some of these have been with like metal engines and things like that, because the 1/20th scale kit already has an engine in it. So it is a fret of photo etch, some sort of metal mesh nets is not the right word for it, because they're just metal mesh, just sort of carb protectors, the way you would see the mesh on top of a smaller trumpet style intake. Except these are in real life they're probably like this big, but they look like loaves of French bread. They sit on top as a one whole piece that covers the intake, or well, two pieces that cover the intake rather than being individual for each induction system. So that's going to come out. It's also going to have a 1/20 scale injected molded helmets. It builds Mario Andretti's winning car from the German Grand Prix, and as well as the team car. So that's coming out for people who are interested. They're going to reissue their Volkswagen Type 2 microbus with another Moon Eyes livery option. This is sort of a vintage Moon Eyes logo and font compared to some of the other ones that they've done. But again, something they've done with a new set of decals. They're going to reissue their Toyota 87C to replicate the Denso 1987 24 Hours of Le Mans car. It says right in the literature for the kit that the kit does not match the real car, which it does not. So know that going in. It is a new set of decals in an existing kit. They've done the 88C Le Mans cars, but the 87C they did not, because technically the 87C doesn't really exist. It's a thing that they've made out of the 88C. We've talked about it in the other 87C kits in the past. Reissue of the Porsche 944 turbo racing version. This is going to be for the 1987 SCCA 24 Hours of Mosport, which I believe is technically a Trans Am Series race, not a SCCA in the traditional sense. It's car 6061. It kind of looks like a Rothman's livery, but it's not in a Rothman sponsorship. This in the literature says that the rear bumper does not match the actual car. We'll see, I guess. So, I didn't have this. These literally just came out a few hours ago before I recorded this, so I haven't really had a chance to sit down and research bumpers on Porsche 944s, but know that that kit will need modifications if you care. They're going to reissue their Lancia Delta HF Integral Evolution, and this is going to be what is known as the Martini 5 livery. This is another set of decals. Actually, there was a set of decals that Studio 27 did that had a number of different Lancia Delta civilian specialty schemes on them. They did one of these before a few months ago, and the Martini 5 is a run of 400 cars that they did. They're all white with black accents and a very small version of the Martini stripe that goes down the side of the Martini livery Deltas to celebrate their 5 consecutive World Rally Championship titles. So up on screen, you just saw that while I was talking about it. So basically, existing Delta kit, new set of decals. Reaching their Subaru Legacy Rally car for the 1992 Rally Australia livery, the 6th place finishing car. This is kind of what they're calling a splash livery. It does look like it drove through wet paint. The car is yellow and it has blue, with the blue going, off of its primary location back onto the yellow part in sort of it looks like paint spill kind of graphic. That's a new set of decals. Again, haven't had a chance to really sit down and compare the real car to what I know the kit contents are. That one doesn't say anything about the fact that the contents don't match the car, so that one may be okay. And then the last one for Augustagawa is a reissue of the Mitsubishi Lancer EX 2000 Turbo Rally car, and this is going to be done for the 1981 European Rally Championship. Let me see here, Hunsrück Rally in Germany. I hope I pronounced that vaguely similar to the name of the actual thing. This, again, says that the kit does not match the actual car. Primary big difference that I can see just glancing at it is the wheels are completely different on this real rally car than they are the ones you get in the kit. The car itself, I did look this up because I was curious, because it just says participation car, which usually means that it didn't finish in a significant way. Finished 108th overall in the rally and 6th place in its class. So it's a very interesting subject matter choice. You kind of figured something like this would be coming, in the sense of these off-the-wall kind of rallies, because you put all this money into tooling a rally version of the Lancer, so it wasn't going to just be a repop, basically, of the Thousand Lakes rally that duplicates the new kit. There were going to be other things, and, well, this would be one of the other things. I gotta admit, I'm kind of sad that there's no... Well, there really are no more Supras to do in JTCC when the BU or Bayou car comes out. But I was hoping to see another Skyline GTR, because we're going to get the Axia one this month, and then we'll get the BU Supra in July, and then August would have been another GTR. There with the seasons that the GTR R32 GTR Group A car ran from 80 from 90 through 93. It's 4 seasons there. There's more than just the Calsonic car, But we'll see. We'll see what comes out with that later. Over to Aoshima for September. So we're going to get the last 4 Grand Champions kits out of the 16 kits. They'll start this month, and they'll run through the next 4 months after that. And we're going to get the 330 Gloria, the what is known as the 10, which is the designation of the chassis, first generation Toyota Soarer, the 430 Gloria, and the Celica Liftback. Also being reissued in September, the Knight Rider Kit Season 1 and Kit Season 3. These are going to be reboxed into the new Movie Mechanica line that currently has the Back to the Future kits in it, and they'll be the same thing they've always been, just in a new box. On the Toon Motor Car line, we're going to get a reissue of the 89 Nissan SEMA Y31 Obayashi version, something that's already been in the Toon Motor Car line in the past. It was kit number 14, so it was one of the first 3 months of the Toon Motor Car line being put together, probably 2.5 years ago at this point. And then 2003 Toyota Celsior K-Brake. This is a new addition to the Toon Motor Car line. I don't necessarily believe there's anything different about it. I don't think there's anything new about it, but it has, as of yet, not been put into the new Toon Motor Car line as of this point. So that'll be coming out as well. And then we're going to get two brand new Aoshima car kits. You may recall probably last fall when the Tokyo Model and Hobby Show was done virtually, that I was kind of, kvetching that there was no new Aoshima car kits. We got the Toyota Taxi cab, and we've got the Mordor R34, and that was kind of it. And it had been a while, and we're getting all these reissues of things, and then we're reissuing the reissues in slightly tweaked box art. Where are all the new kits? Well, hey, we found a couple. So 2000 Pagani Zonda. We talked about this in the Shizuoka show video. So this kit and its photo etch, there will be a separately sold PE detail upset for this kit. Will be coming out in September. And we're also going to get the 1969 Toyota 2000 GT and its PE set in September as well. Very interesting to see what these PE sets are going to look like. There's no pictures of them as of yet, but the PE set for this Toyota 2000 GT is currently $15 more than the PE set for the Zonda. That sounds like a lot, but the Zondas is only like $13, and then the PE for the Toyota 2000 GT is like 25, which is not outrageous. $25, $30 for a really comprehensive PE set like you would get with a new GT3 car, or you know, some of the other PE sets from some of these Lamborghinis that Aoshima had done in the past. The Pagani Warrior, PE set was pretty expensive in total, if you really think about it that way. But the Zondas is not that expensive, so it'll be interesting to see what they're going to be doing with these PE sets in terms of what they're going to contain when the time comes. So that is that in terms of those announcements. The one other kit announcement we have is going to be the July kit from Salvinos JR, and it's going to be this, a 1976 Dodge Charger Richard Petty car. Now, this is not technically a 1976 Dodge Charger in the traditional sense. This is a 1973 Dodge Charger being run in 1976. You may recall, we've talked about it in the past, NASCAR had a thing where you could, at the time, run a body style that was up to I might be actually 4, but at least 3 years old in the current season. That would obviously not fly, especially with the cars going to the Gen 7 cars, next year. You couldn't, obviously, use a Gen 6 car with the Gen 7 cars on the track at the same time. This will just be a different set of decals from the 73 Dodge Charger they did. If you're kind of sitting here going, wait, why another Richard Petty Dodge Charger already? The 73 Dodge Charger has sold out already. Gone out of Salvinos. Now, that doesn't mean you can't find them. Hobby shops have them. Online vendors have them. eBay has them. They're not out of stock in a global sense, but Salvinos themselves do not have any more at this point in time. And they tend not to run more of them. Their shtick is doing the limited release to get you to buy them. And at this point, there's only 3 or 4 other Salvinos kits that have completely and officially sold out from Salvinos. And they're some of the original Salvinos kits, like the original Oldsmobile, the original Monte Carlo, the Bush liveried Oldsmobile. So to have one sell out, especially this quickly, obviously a good thing for them in terms of their profit margins. So good to see. Perhaps not the biggest fan of some of their early social media foibles and dealing with their customer service issues in the beginning. I haven't really heard anything bad about them in the recent months. But, also just want people to be successful. The best thing you could do as a company is, if you do fall over your own male member, would be to take that opportunity to improve and, provide better customer service, better products. So we'll see what comes of it, but that is going to be that next kit. So like I said, over here domestically, we have a bunch of releases. We have the June Salvinos kit is out, as well as a number of releases from round 2 as well. So the Salvinos kit for this month that has just been released is the AJ Foyt Racing 1983 Monte Carlo, the very basic, again, Valvoline scheme. We saw a very similar basic Valvoline scheme on the 70-ish, I can't remember what season that was really supposed to be right off the top of my head, but the 1978-ish Oldsmobile that was released a couple of months ago. So that kit is out. Should just be a straight repop of the Monogram Monte Carlo. And I think it was Rob who pointed out in the comments to the monthly video we did, yes, the Salvinos guys have put out the regular notchback, not flat front, not flat-faced Monte Carlo in the past in the Hardee's 1984 car. My bad, completely forgot about it. But yes, so this is just a decal set to extend the licensing with AJ Foyt at that point. Over on the round 2 side of things, we've gotten the last of the May releases, which was the Fruhaf plated tanker. So the plated tanker, a bunch of times has been released. It's it's an old kit. It's a 1970s kit, like all of AMT's truck stuff is anyway, but it's not a hard thing to find. It was released in 2015 with a shell livery. It was released in 2000 and let's see, what does this say? 2004 with a Texaco livery. So they're around. This is basically just a reissue with some new decals thrown into it for the Sunoco licensing. So just another opportunity to pick this up. I get the shtick of the plated tanker, but keep in mind that when you build this thing, the tanker is going to be in two pieces, and you're going to have to make those two pieces in half. At least two pieces. I'm not sure if the end caps are separate, if it's just a split in half like a giant loaf of French bread. French bread, today's topic. But mating that and getting the seams filled and all that things, you're going to have to repaint part of the chrome anyway, so I would have rather had the option. I mean, I get the shtick. You're selling this to people who aren't going to do all that work. They're just going to slap the two halves together and roll down the road with it. But anybody who's going to really put a little bit of effort into it, you're going to have to repaint spastics, Molotov it, something it on all the seam lines once you get those situated. And I get it. At the same time, it's also more trouble than it's worth. I don't know. It's one of those things. So that is out. And then on the June releases, we actually got 3 of the 4 of those as well. And they are, first up, the 1978 Ford Courier minivan. So it's the first time in a long time that the Courier minivan has been out. I cannot find a specific reference, although that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, but can't find a specific reference to this kit being reissued in this exact format since its original release in 1978. The step side has had a couple of releases. It was just released a few months ago on that limited Auto World Firestone livery. 1995, I think, was the last time that this was released in terms of the step side, but the long bed hasn't been released, I think, since the 1980s-ish, maybe early 1990s, and this minivan with this big camper shell on it and all that stuff, again, not released, I don't believe, in this exact format since the beginning. Get 2 sets of wheels. I don't think either one of them are necessarily factory stock Ford Courier wheels. Remember, Ford Courier at this point is a Mazda pickup truck that they captive imported over to give themselves a small pickup truck to compete with Toyota, Nissan, and nominally speaking, probably the Isuzu-based Chevy LUV at the same time. It's got fender flares and things like that. I haven't seen the inside of one of these since the step side was out in the 1990s. So we're going back, almost 30 years at this point. So I don't remember if those flares are add-ons or not. Somebody in the comments can comment if they have one of these already or if they don't, if they know for sure. But yeah, it's not really going to build a base truck. That was never going to be the point of this, right? It's a freewheeling little beach van, blah, blah, blah. Got pad printed pad printed tires added to it. Obviously, the expanded decals, and it is running the box art that it ran back in 1978, which is obviously round 2 shtick at this point anyway. The second thing we got is the Big Rig model set for the turbine display engine. This is the turbine engine out of the GMC Astro. A lot of people were just commenting they should have just put this in the Astro. Yeah, okay, you could have, but you're going to make more money selling it separately, because people who have Chevy Astros will buy this to put it into the Chevy Astro, whereas they may not buy another Chevy Astro just to get the engine. There are instructions included on how to install it into the Chevy Astro. The way it is molded in this, what they're calling authentic mint greens, take that for what it's worth, but the way this is molded is designed to be displayed separately, but obviously you can put it in the GMC Astro, and like I said, instructions included on how to actually get it on in there. And then lastly, we have the cow drag combo. So this is a 64 Ford Galaxy, ultra wheelbase Ford Falcon, and a trailer to tow it all with. This drag race looks particularly dangerous, as there seems to be a guardrail that ends right around the same place this guy decided to park. So if he backs his car off the trailer, he's going to go out onto the racetrack. I'm assuming it's the end of the racetrack since the parachute's already out. Maybe they're not going that fast. Maybe we're down at the end of the gravel trap, but still it's an odd place to park because you have to drag that thing all the way up to the front end to run it. It's got multiple window color choices for the dragster. They tooled a new trailer hitch for the car to tow it with, so there's that. The 64 Galaxy, if I'm not mistaken, in this case is a Craftsman style curbside. I believe that's what this kit is. The 63 is the one that's a full detail kit. Um, but yeah, all three in one box, running about $55. And I don't believe this has been reissued in this format since its original release in the 1960s. So decals, box art, yada yada yada, but obviously the vintage original box art on that. So that covers the domestic releases, and we'll go overseas to what is primarily a Aoshima festival at this point, but we do have one long-awaited kit, which if you haven't watched the other channel that I do, you don't realize is out yet. So Aoshima is going to be what we're looking at here, and we got the last two May releases from them, which are the two Liberty Walk sort of vintage Nissans, if you will. First up, you have the Hakusuka Works Shakaten Kyoji's Choice version, which is the tribute to the 1968 Japanese Grand Prix car. Obviously not a real race car. It's a, this one's not really slambered like some of the Liberty Walk kits are, but it's obviously a slammed, lowered, customized, over-fendered 68-ish GTR. I don't know if it's exactly a 1968 GTR or not. First GTRs, remember, were four doors prior to the coupe being introduced. So that's out there, just a reissue. And then the other one is the Ken and Mary Works Shodai version, which is a tribute to, again, what the 1973 GTR race car would have looked like if there was a 1973 racing season. The racing season was canceled due to the oil crisis. The 73 GTR was subsequently also canceled because performance car in the middle of a gas crisis was not a good look for Nissan, and there never was an actual race car that year. So this is what the race car display model, basically this green and gold, was what the display of the real race car was, in terms of a Tokyo Auto Show presentation model, but again, it never actually raced. So another one of the Liberty Works things where it's not a real race car, but it is the tribute to. And then we got a bunch of wheel sets for the June releases, and these are all 14-inch wheel sets. And we're going to go with the Hayashi, the Star Shark, the Longchamp XR4s, the Yayois, as well as the Kaku Tekken Type 1s, and the Formula Mesh wheels as well. Formula Mesh are the only ones that really belong on a larger car. All those other ones are on smaller cars, especially if you look at the background of them. Skylines, Corollas, things like that. The Formula Mesh, a 14-inch wheel, but it's on a Nissan Cedric in the background there. So that covers that. And then lastly, a brand new toolkit. Something that's been on the wish list and or pre-order list for a lot of us for a long time. Kit is officially out globally at this point. Was out in Hong Kong probably about a week and a half before Platts distributed it in Japan and started sending it out to other countries. That's a pretty good gap for Platts Nunu. Usually there's about almost a month difference between the Hong Kong release and when we get kits in Japan. But you probably have gotten the idea of what I'm talking about at this point. It is the BMW M8 GTE in its 2019 Daytona winning livery. Team car is in here, so you can build the Alex Zanardi car, being, again, the last car that he had actually driven prior to his accident. I have two of them already. Looks like a pretty good kit and pretty basic kit. The M6 is not a complicated kit either in terms of its parts content, but the Audi certainly has a number of pieces. You got to go with the fact that you have an open rear window, so you have to put an engine top into it and things like that. This one is 14 steps long, which is pretty short for a new kit, and it's really seems to be pretty simple. I've talked to a few guys who built the advanced copies. They said it builds up pretty nicely, so that would be a really nice change from the new kits. The M6 clearly had some issues with especially its original version, the SPA 24-hour version. They did tweak it a little bit here and there towards the current ones, because we're going to get another one here pretty soon with the PlayStation livery on it. Those ones, as I said, have been like poked and prodded. They've made them better over time. They're still, going to be what they are. They're not going to mold a whole new kit out of it. The Audi R8s, I don't think they're bad in the first place. Some people complain about them. Nunu is in a situation where enough people have gotten kind of with the M6, with the R8. They've started bashing everything that Nunu makes, regardless of what they are, which is really funny when these same people, of course, say things like, the BMAX kit was so much better, and you want to grab them through the internet, pull them through your Ethernet port, slap them in the face, and send them back to their house because, of course, the Nunu kit and the BMAX kit, in the circumstances they're talking about, things like the M3 or other kits of that genre that the BMAX did originally that have been reissued by Nunu, the Lancia Super Delta S4. They're the same bleeping kit with the different set of decals in them. Don't sit here and tell me that the Nunu kit is worse than the BMAX kit when they are physically the exact same thing. You have just either experienced, if you have an M6, or have heard through the constant harping of people who were just never happy you could give them a kit, have it build itself, paint it whatever livery they want it to, and give them a handy on the way out the door, and they'd still be upset about the experience. They need something, and the long waits don't help either. Like, this is a year plus out from when it was supposed to be released originally. But if this one builds good, and there are a number of liveries for it already, both the 4th of July scheme, the modal schemes, the black car, the red car that are running currently, the FIA WEC schemes for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Frankie has a carbon fiber wrap to do a practice car from Daytona. Diego Racing Decals 43, Frankie over at SK Decals, the two people making decals for this right now. Lau at LB Production, planning to do some e-racing versions of this kit, which is kind of cool. That was a thing that occurred if you missed out on racing. The thing that occurred last year was couldn't race in real life, so sim racing became a huge thing with the actual drivers of the real one-to-one cars in sim racing. And the liveries weren't constrained by factory at that point because they're digital cars. So that'll be interesting to see if more of those sort of come along. Not just for the M8, but in general. Certainly an untapped market at this point. It's a risk reward thing, right? It's a different livery for a car that has a corporate factory livery basically that isn't changed at all in the 3 years that the car has run at this point. But it's also not the same. And e-racing, is it popular enough to justify decals? I guess he's going to find out one way or the other. But yeah, so totally, I said, if this builds up well as it seems to, and I'm going to actually be starting mine here in a day or two. It's going to be one of the things I try to get done for Vegas in August. Yeah, well, I'll let you know. And a bunch of people are going to let you know because a bunch of us have been waiting on this kit for quite a while. And also with that, or sold separately for it, I'll say with it, and then that implies that it comes with it when it doesn't, is this detail upset for it. This includes 2 sheets of PE. You can't really see the second sheet. It's a very small sheet. It just has the winglets and the wing struts for the rear wing. The one you can see here is primarily the big chunk with all the vents and the mesh on it, as well as the driver safety nets and the brake disc face along with the seatbelt material and the seatbelt buckles and all that stuff like that. I'm still not a huge fan of Nunu for including the driver nets only in the PE. I've gotten everybody has an M6 knows that the M6 doesn't have canards in the kit. You have to buy the PE set or a PE set to put canards, which are those little dive planes on the front corners of the bumper. You have to put those on. The R8 has them in plastic. This has them in plastic, but it is, the driver nets are pretty important pieces of the interior. Now, I understand molding them in plastic will probably be hard, especially to make them in scale thin, but at the same time, not everybody's going to want to go buy this. The cool part of this, though, is the fact that it does include 4 sheets of decals that replace a lot of the kit decals, which are just black, with the proper carbon fiber patterns. The kit decals are black for things like the window surrounds and the rear diffuser and things like that, and that's not real life. Real life, those are carbon fiber. The window surrounds especially have a very large, almost plaid, if you want to consider it to be, carbon fiber pattern that doesn't look like any other twill on the market as far as something you could buy from Scale Motorsports or somebody else. I don't think that twill exists. other than Frankie's set to wrap the car and this set for the PE set. So it might be worth the investment. It's running about $25, which is really not too bad for a PE set that includes that much decals. It also has a couple of other decals in it, like a different set of dashboard gauges that are way more in register and clear and concise than the ones in the kit. I don't understand why the kit ones aren't just that good. It's kind of a goofy thing to include because most people don't realize it's in there. If you look at this, you're not going to see it. You wouldn't know what's in this unless you could see the back of it that has it all laid out on the back of the package. But yeah, it's out. It's cool. I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I need 10 of them or something like that. Well, maybe not necessarily 10 of them, but I have two. I have a third one that just came in at Hobbylink Japan when this kit was released. But I believe to do all, if I was going to do all the cars, and I know this is ha 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 ha, I'm building models, but if I was going to do all the liveries that are available, I would, because I want to do both the cars out of the box. This is an already car is particularly important, but I want to do the winning car as well. I want to do one of the practice cars from Daytona, one of the 24 Hours of Le Mans cars. Doesn't really matter which because they stunk on ice in FIA WEC. They podiumed twice between the two cars over the course of an entire season. And Le Mans was particularly harsh on them. I think one of them finished fifth one of the two stops in the 2018-2019 season. And then, of course, MTech pulled the plug and didn't run them after that. There's the 4th of July liveries for IMSA, and they're different between the two cars. So those two, and then I do want to build a black car and a red car, the modal car. So I need like 8 of them. I have 3, and we'll start out and see where it goes. Anyway, guys, that wraps up this video. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Summer is officially here. I know that reduces bench time for a lot of people. You got outdoor activities, you got kids, you got lawns, you got pools, you got stuff to do. But do appreciate you all tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the other side.